Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames with another video game review, and this time I'm looking at probably my biggest surprise of the year, and that was Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. Now, this game was announced earlier this year, and it was kind of flew under a lot of people's radar, but I was kind of excited for it, mostly because of the word that came out of the developer, which is Salil. Salil is I guess you could say a developer compromised mostly of ex-Team Ninja people, so a lot of ex-Ninja Gaiden people. I don't know if this is Valhalla Games or what Valhalla Games became or not. It's really hard to really say. However, I do know that Itagaki's name is in the credits, so there you go. This is a former Team Ninja developed game based on Samurai Jack. Now, I like the Samurai Jack franchise. I think it's pretty dope. It's been a long-running series that started in the early 2000s, went away for a while, came back as a more mature Adult Swim cartoon for one last season in 2017, and this game is shockingly kind of actually canon to the cartoon, which is kind of unique and nice. So they all actually brought in the original creators to kind of have a say in the writing and the direction of the game, so that's actually pretty dope. That being said, it is extremely spoilerific for the overall series as a whole because it takes place moments before the actual series ends. So keep that in mind if you're jumping in and don't have any knowledge of the series going into it. It's mostly a big fan service game. Now, you don't really need to, if you've not seen Samurai Jack and you don't really have any plans to watch it, I think you're still in for a really good time because, again, this is X-Team Ninja, and this game plays very, very much like the Xbox era of Ninja Gaiden games. In fact, it's been lovingly labeled as Samurai Gaiden, and it's very appropriate. Now, that being said, this is not necessarily a graphical showpiece games. Adult Swim Games is mostly an indie publisher in the same vein as Devolver Digital. It's a $40 title. It's on every system imaginable, including the Switch right now. So you're definitely not going to get a game that's going to push any boundaries graphically, but it doesn't really need to. All it really needs to do is play well. And for my time on the PS4 version, it definitely plays well. There are few minor things where there's a little bit of loading hiccups every now and again, and one point the music actually failed to load, but it's pretty minor, or it's not very common to have happen. So I don't really think you need to worry about anything about this game. Oh, does it function? Does it work well? It actually mostly runs at a constant 60 frames. You'll get slowdown patches here and there when things do get really crazy, but otherwise, this is a character-driven action game in a year where we didn't really get one. Last year, we were really blessed. We got Devil May Cry 5, and we got Astral Chain, and this year, we got nothing. We got nothing from Platinum so far, and Capcom is once in a blue moon now. So this is a real treat, and if you're really into the character-driven action games, this is going to be an oasis in an otherwise desert of a year in the genre or subgenre. And yeah, that's actually the really surprising thing about everything, is that this is actually solid. It's actually very solid. It's not a cheap cash grab. It's not, licensed throwaway fodder. I mean, it doesn't really have the budget of something huge, but, it does play very, very well. And really, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing here. So it's got about 10 levels or so, and they're actually pretty sizable. They're basically it's sort of a guided tour through some of the fan favorite best of moments of the show. Not everything's necessarily covered here that are fan favorite, but a lot of it is. You get Scotsman, and you get a lot of fights with Demongo, and you get Scaramouche, and you get the Daughters of Aku. So you're going to get a lot of really good stuff. I think there's really only one level I was kind of just super not thrilled with, but at least it was different and unique to the rest of the game. So the nice thing is that most of the environments are going to stand out from each other. You're not going to be running through a lot of the samey looking areas, and that's nice. It's for a game that's probably I'd say average length, and maybe a little bit on the short side. It's nice that you're not running through, oh, here's level 1 and here's level 2, which looks exactly like level 1, just with a different color palette. It's not like that. They actually do make each level, because each level is based off a different episode of the show, so they actually do a good job of making sure each level stands out on its own with its own visual identity. Sometimes levels have even multiple visual looks to them. Like one level is sort of in these rolling hills in a cloudy landscape, and then it goes into a volcano. So it actually switches between it and it. So yeah, I actually really dig that aspect of it. There are some moments where the game actually does surprise you, where like, oh, that area or that shot or that spot looks really good. Like it's not disappointing graphically. Again, it's no Death Stranding, you know, or anything like that, or no Ghost of Tsushima. But there are moments where you're like, yeah, you know, that actually looks pretty dang good for a game that probably didn't get a huge budget or had a huge development cycle. So it's a little awkward if you're used to the show because everything is in 3D now, so you have these 3D polygonal models. The show's very stylized, very lots of angular, sharp edges and stuff, and it does its best to make these characters come to life, I guess, in 3D, but you're not going to get away from that sort of oddness that comes with taking such a stylized 2D hand-drawn show and then putting it in 3D. It does have that look of like, this is a little weird seeing these characters in polygon form, but you know, it's not really too bad. You get over it pretty quick. A big thing that helps sell it, of course, is the fact that all the returning voice actors are here. You know, everything from Samurai Jack, Scotsman, again, Mongo, Scaramouche. You're getting like a who's who of all-time greats in Western cartoon voiceovers. You get Greg Baldwin as Aku, obviously, because Mako's no longer with us. Although they do credit him and use his original voice for the original opening of the show, which opens the game up before the title screen. So that's nice. You know, Greg Baldwin's a treat every time he's been. All throughout season 5 and all throughout this game. It's always fun just to see him come in and basically just taunt Jack, because Aku is such a fun character, and it really does feel like all these voice actors coming back, you know, everything, Phil Lamar, Tara Strong, John DiMaggio, you know, Kevin Michael Richardson, they're all, Tom Kenny especially, they're all just having a good time, you know, having a good time replaying these characters. And what I would call this game is an encore. It's an encore of the show. I did say it was canon, and crazily enough, if you're willing to seek it out, which is not very hard to do, there is an alternate ending to the whole series, which is really cool. It's a really good reason to actually jump in and play through the game if you're in it for the lore and you want to see an alternate ending to the whole franchise. They went ahead and did that on their own, even including like new hand-drawn animation for an alternate ending. That's really cool. But yeah, this doesn't feel like an epilogue so much as it just feels like an encore performance at a really good concert that is Samurai Jack. So now the combat, getting into the nitty-gritty of the combat, it's actually a wonderful character-based action game. It uses a weapon wheel, so you have 4 equipable combat weapons on the fly, and then you have a projectile weapon as well, but that has to be, you have to pause the game and switch to different projectile weapons. There's no weapon wheel for projectiles, which you just use by tapping the R1 button. But what's really nice about this is that there are a variety of different weapon styles. You've got swords, you've got spears, you've got hammers, hammer/scythes, you've got clubs, and you've got your fists. And you know, they all kind of stack, and they have like stats to them, and that's kind of neat because it lets you, you know, really tailor your play style, because if you're like a very rush down, you like being fast, you can actually use fists, and fists are just a really good way of getting in real fast, real rush down heavy combat. And if you're like that, that's great. And if you're a little bit more slow, methodical, you can use scythes and clubs, and those are going to chop things up and do, you know, big damage, but you know, they're going to be a lot slower. So the weapons have stats. Your weapons, you can also pillage weapons from enemies and find weapons in the environment. Those weapons break. Now, however, your main weapon, your sword, will never break. And your fists are always there because your fists don't break. So any of the enemy weapons or extra weapons you find in, you know, treasure chests or whatever, they can break, but they can also be repaired because there's always the samurai who's hanging around, who's your shopkeep and also your blacksmith. So that's actually pretty cool. It doesn't really get in the way too much. And what's also really cool is that there's a very large, robust skill tree, which lets you expand and use up your moves. And they do a lot of really cool things, like you can do cancels, where you can go from cancel an attack animation straight into block. You get parries, you get dodges, perfect dodges, which give us like slight sort of witch time effect, but not really. You get like special abilities like jump good, stuff like that. So you get there's a lot to unlock, and you get it just mostly by just fighting, you using up enemy weapons, which will give you like a special type of currency, which you can also use to buy more abilities and moves and whatnot. You can expand your combos. There's actually a separate skill tree thing where at the shop you can actually expand your combo abilities with training. Just is basically just buying something from the samurai, as well as your skill tree. So once you've upgraded both things using actual coins, using key spirits or flame spirits, whatever, you really do by the end of this become a god. Now, however, that being said, if you decide you're going to start the game on hard, you will get your ass handed to you. The game's, I would say it's one of the game's kind of faults in that the sense that it lets you start the game out on hard difficulty, but you're going to get your ass handed to you because it's really meant for you to do that on a New Game Plus. You're really supposed to unlock, it really feels like you're supposed to unlock abilities such as advanced guarding, where you can slide forward while blocking or parrying or rolling. It really feels like you're meant to have that before you start the game on hard difficulty. And you can suffer it out if you want, but it is really, really difficult to play the game starting on hard difficulty with none of your skill tree or abilities unlocked. And on the flip side is, if once you do start really unlocking everything and you do go back even on hard difficulty, then a hard difficulty doesn't become that difficult at all. It kind of becomes a bit more of a little too easy, because you feel like a god because you have so much abilities at your disposal, although you will absolutely need to have the dexterity and response time to actually do it. And of course, once you've beaten all the levels on hard, you get an extreme difficulty called Master of Masters. And that is, seeing Master of Masters, there is some straight up bullshit in that mode. You will be just completely swamped with all kinds of enemies. They even do things where they add in extra mini boss fights. Like hard difficulty actually changes up the enemy encounters. It's not just they don't hit harder and move faster. They actually add enemies. They put different enemies. They put a lot of enemies that are meant for later on in the game right at the beginning. And then Master of Masters does that even more, where they add even more enemies to each encounter, and then they add new extra boss fights to it. So you really need all your abilities at your disposal, because when you get to that extreme difficulty, you are going to be constantly hounded, and the enemies are going to be very aggressive. So if that all sounds really good to you, because that's what gets your dick fucking hard, is a game being super hard and like constantly losing, this game actually will fulfill that goal. It'll fulfill that fantasy. If you really need that cock and ball torture in digital format, this game delivers on that front. So this is this is X Team Ninja. This is X Ninja Gaiden developers, and they did not shy away from the difficulty on the harder difficulty settings. Now, normal difficulty, I think, it's fine. It's nothing too crazy. It's absolutely 100% manageable. In fact, it's almost too easy on normal. Like normal is kind of a cakewalk up until the last 2 levels on normal, and then it starts getting really tough. So there is a bit of a ramp up as you go along. But like the first few levels on normal are like, this is too easy, and then it starts getting a little intense. Like, okay, now you'll feel the heat later on. So yeah, but either way though, the thing that is really great about the game is the fact that even when you have to replay stuff, or you're just going around the game looking for hidden collectibles, one of the main ones being these medallions that are corrupted, and you have to like shoot them or hit them and collect them to uncorrupt them. Like even when you're just looking around scouring the environments, it's actually just fun just to go back and redo stuff, because the combat's so good, because there is so much crazy tech to it. Like if an enemy is blocking you too much, you can actually grab them and knock them down like a fucking fighting game. You can steal weapons, you can upgrade weapons, or not really upgrade weapons, but you can repair them. You can replay levels to collect the best weapons in those levels, and you can expand your inventory, with skill upgrades and stuff like that. So, and there's actually lots of little secrets, because again, these levels are actually pretty big. Some of them are pretty involved. There's a lot to find in some of them. and it's pretty cool. The music's good. It does. I don't know if I'd say it stands out necessarily. Sometimes it's actually really awesome. Some of the stuff in like the last level, some of the boss encounters are actually really good. But it's I don't know. I wouldn't say the soundtrack is going to blow your dick off. Not like the combat will. The combat just feels really good, really responsive, especially as you unlock more and more abilities. The parry being super important, as well as like the perfect dodging. That stuff's gonna really make things good. And then when you upgrade your combo abilities and you start getting shit like dive kicks and stuff, you're gonna have a real good time with this game. Like I can't stress enough that if you really do enjoy character action games, and especially if you enjoyed the Xbox era of Ninja Gaiden games, you really owe it to yourself to give this game a try, because it is really good. Like, it doesn't, again, it doesn't look like, $100, but it's not $100. It's $40. It's not even 60. It's not even full price. And it's excellent quality from a gameplay perspective all throughout. And yeah, I was anticipating the game, hoping it was going to be awesome, and I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I think because of the attachment to the franchise, I probably enjoyed it more than I enjoyed some of the Ninja Gaiden games. But without any attachment to Samurai Jack, I think you're still going to have a really good time, because the character action aspect of it is excellent. The developer Soleil is on my radar, and I think should be on everyone's radar. They're actually proved themselves very, very well with this title, and I think it's not getting a lot of press, not getting a lot of coverage, and I think people are really missing out. This is a really solid game. Again, it can get really difficult. However, on the normal difficulty, it's not really that bad. And if you're a lore person, you're like, I just want to see the lore, but like, I'm not good at video games, I like Samurai Jack, I want to see that secret ending. Don't worry, that you don't need to beat the game on higher difficulties to get the secret ending. Like, the requirements for the secret ending are not tied to difficulty. So rejoice there. I think was a really smart move. Because it's definitely something that helps out people who are just in it for the franchise because they love Samurai Jack but are not very good at video games. So excellent choice on Soleil's part. Really cool that we got a secret ending. I love the fact that there is this basically this encore performance of it, and it's great just to hear the characters one more time. And this was a solid title. I actually really do recommend it. On a personal rating, I would rate this game a 9, just because it's a game that I have replayed. I have played through the whole game more than once, and I have more than played through the whole game. So it's really crazy. Very few games actually entice me to replay them, especially all the way through more than once, and this game did it. So personally, I think this is a 9 out of 10 for me. This game was just so much fun, and I could play it again. I could play it right now. Critically, though, I'd say it's much closer to like an 8. Just because it lacks a little bit of polish. I did encounter a few bugs here and there. I do think the way the difficulty is presented is not necessarily great. The idea that like it's ridiculous. It goes from 0 to 1,000. You play on normal and it's going to be kind of easy. Then if you start on hard, it's like stupidly difficult because it's meant to be hard is meant to be done on a New Game Plus, which I'm not really sure if I agree with the way that all works out. So kind of sort of buyer beware there. But yeah, and again, it's not it's not pushing anything too hard graphically, but again, it's $40, so I give it a little bit of leeway there just for that fact. But yeah, just a little bit of like some little hiccups with glitches. Again, there's like some key moments where sound didn't play. Stuff like that, and I really don't know if I agree with how the beginning, starting a brand new game altogether, how the difficulty is scaled. I'm not sure if I really agree with that aspect of it, but I am glad that it's easy enough for people who are new. It's hard as balls for those who are really into that. I wish there was a little better balance at the beginning between the two, but it's fine because by the end of it, you're gonna feel like a true samurai warrior with all the abilities you unlock, and it's a great time. This is a game not to miss. It's flying under everyone's radar, but don't miss it. You should be checking this out. Again, personally, I give it a 9, but critically, I think it's closer to an 8. But anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the channel later, dudes.